Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're having a great Thursday. I am. We've got out to do a couple of errands, help a couple people today, and had a nice lunch out. So have a great day and a meeting with my Rotary team tonight. So be a great day. So a few minutes on the Wall Street Journal today, and I've got quite a few articles picked out, but a lot of them are very quick. Hope you enjoy it, and appreciate any of your feedback that you might have. First, quickly, Apple reached $2 trillion in value, asset value, on Wednesday. It went up to 2 trillion and came back a little bit below it, so you may not find it there right now. It's the first U.S. public company to do so. So congratulations, Apple. I remember had a guy working for me probably 30 years ago, said to buy Apple, and he was absolutely right. He was absolutely right. Number two, so Target posted its best quarter ever and experienced a tripling of digital sales this last quarter. And Lowe's also had its best quarter in decades. Meanwhile, Kohl's is suffering. So you ask yourself, what's the difference between Kohl's and Target? Well, they both sell clothing. Interesting. They both sell home goods. Interesting. Oh, wait a minute. Target sells food. Does Kohl's sell food? No. So how does that make it different? Regulations. One gets to stay open for shopping, the other doesn't. So when they allowed Target to be open, they still allowed you to buy home goods and clothing? Of course. Rules weren't fair, and the world is not a fair place, as I've often told my boys. So Target gets to stay open and make a great success of itself. Kohl's gets punished because they sell the wrong merchandise in a pandemic, and the wrong combination of goods in a pandemic. So, by the way, Target's hotspots, two of their revenue hotspots were home goods and clothing. So they actually got to sell some items that really helped it. So did the government pick a winner again in this market economy? It happens. California's on fire, number 3, again. In a 72-hour period ending Wednesday, there were 11,000 lightning strikes in California alone. There were 360 fires, 23 of them major, and 46,000 acres were on fire, 0% containment. California is on fire. Colorado's got a number of large fires, and so does Arizona. Very difficult fire season. I want to do some research into fighting fires. Isn't it interesting? With all like the pandemic, we turn to the federal government, right? With fires, we almost never turn to the federal government. And why is that? And I want to do some research on that, and I think many of you might send some articles my way. States are required to handle this on their own, and sometimes they steal from, they actually go, California is going to Arizona and some other states now to get help. But interesting enough, the governors don't get, on TV and turn it into a federal issue and blame Trump on this, for instance. In this case, Trump's the president, so, he would be blamed or if he can't put out the fire. So why is that? Well, they're very serious. They're affecting a lot of people. A lot of people will lose their houses, their property forever. And we make it a state issue and we leave it at that. COVID cases are holding. So the 7-day average in the U.S. of COVID cases is averaging 48,000 cases every 7 days. The 14-day average was 50,000, a little over 50,810. So That 7-day average has been dropping since July 26th. So this entire month and a little bit of July, that the overall COVID cases have been dropping. Good news. And by the way, why do we use 7-day average? So 7-day average gets rid of those ups and downs that daily reporting nuances and other things may happen, and average things out a bit, smooth things out a little bit, so it's easier to study the overall results. The media loves every day because they can report a new high, or it dropped or whatever. They can report these extreme swings, but it's real hard to see on average what's really happening. That's why we do that. Europe, by the way, is trending up in cases. Daily cases have doubled since July in the 5 largest countries. I say this because we've gotten to this popular political battle of comparing Trump against all the other national leaders when we look at COVID. And so because we want to measure Trump, we want to make him look foolish or great. However, whichever side you're on, you pick one. You want him to look better or worse than the other national leaders. Like, first of all, you got to assume that the national leader really can have anything to do with 48,000 cases of COVID a week. So you got to get past there, and some of you may not. But Europe is trending the other way. You're not hearing a whole lot about that. So we look at it a lot different ways. So what if you look at it in the positive cases ratio to population? So in the US, there's 150 cases of COVID per 1 million people. In Europe, there's only 30 cases, 1/5. So the US per population, has 5 more cases of COVID than Europe does. Even though Europe is trending the other direction, US is trending down. Okay, this is where statistics can get you. And by the way, that's why I recommend a great book, and everybody ought to read this. How to Lie with Statistics, a classic book. You can see it's a really old book. I've still got my original copy. Not even sure when this originally was dated. But I got to look this up because 1954. So it's almost as old as I am. So a great book that you can see how people mislead you with statistics, and I'm trying to do my best today. So I showed you one report that shows you U.S. winning over Europe. I've shown you the next one that says U.S. is 5 times worse. So what did I leave out? Well, I left out what almost everybody's leaving out, is the testing rate. So if you look at the testing rate, the U.S. is testing about a little over 2 people per 1,000 people. Okay. Europe is testing a little over 1 person. So U.S. is testing at a rate twice what Europe is. So now you're confused. You flip back and forth. Well, I'm glad I've done that. I've confused you with all the stats. I think if you look at it, the U.S. is still more active in COVID cases, no matter what statistic you look at. You got to look at multiple ones, by the way. You can't just look at one like I've just done. And I think you look at it and you'll say the U.S. is more active in COVID cases. Now, whether you want to relate that to Trump, I understand if you have confirmation bias, you want to do that. If you don't like the guy, don't like his party, then certainly COVID is one thing you want to pile on his plate right now. And I understand it. I get it. I really do. But I really think you ought to look at the cultures, the countries. There's a lot of things to look at. Very complex issue. A friend of mine and I were studying this the other day, and very complex issue. I mean, you look at Sweden, I think 40-some% of their people live alone. Well, that's a huge difference. That's a huge difference than other cultures. So you look, everything's complex. You need to look at all of it. 5th article today, Postal Service Democrats. Pelosi has rushed her delegates back to Congress to focus on a nonstop defense of, wait for it. What did she rush back for? It must be COVID, right? No. The post office. She wants to stop the post office from making any improvements. That's exactly right. So this is the second vacation they've made, by the way, since this COVID pandemic has started. A pox on their house for doing this. They should have stayed in place and worked on this pandemic that they were trying to convince us was hugely important and pointed out every time Trump went to the golf course. But if you look at the post office trying to improve itself, which is what they've tried to do in reports that for years have said they've got to improve themselves and become more efficient, the benchmark for the party's programs isn't excellence, but something akin to mail delivery. So instead of focusing on excellence, we're going to focus on mail delivery and trying to do the same thing we've always done for the same too much money. So let me ask you a question. If you need something there on time, and it really has to be there on time, are you going to put it in FedEx or are you going to mail it? If you need your children to have an education, a really good education, and you have the opportunity, not all of you do, but you have the opportunity, you're going to send them to private schools or public schools? That's what I thought. So you got to ask yourself, does the Democrats want a post office country? If I was Trump, I just thought of this today when I was going over this. If I was Trump, I would ask the states to switch to FedEx for mail ballots. I'd say, go ahead and go to mail ballots, but switch to FedEx. You've got a signature when they got the ballot. You got a signature when they handed it back to the delivery person, and it'll absolutely get there in 2 days. And everybody will sign for it. We'll have great tracking, and all this nonsense about the post office pulling a few mailboxes out and a few sorting machines will go away, and we will go back to a market economy and a company that's doing very well at package deliveries. Let's go get the FedEx involved. I like it. And number 6, we ought to thank the Californians for making sacrifices. These sacrifices are necessary to achieve carbon neutrality. A lot of people haven't told you about this yet, but you must make sacrifices to save the earth. And so California right now is doing it and showing the rest of the country what's necessary and how to do these sacrifices and how to do them well. First of all, they got rolling blackouts right now. Why do they have rolling blackouts? Because they've converted much of their platform over their infrastructure, the electrical grid infrastructure, over to solar. So solar quits 6, 7, 8 in the evening. Air conditioning is still going on. The demand is still high. They can't borrow from Arizona and Nevada right now because it's hot there and everybody's running their air conditioners. So they are out of electricity. Okay. So what are they doing? If you're in California, what do you do if you have money? By the way, the elites, right? This is not the working people, right? Remember, you always hear about the working people. We're going to take care of it. No, the elites are running generators. Are they fossil fuel generators? Of course they are. Propane or gas, right? So this is what I saw in Haiti. I traveled to Haiti one time and actually built a church in Port-au-Prince. And on the base camp, the electrical grid was awful. Went down all the time, multiple times during the day, 8, 9, 10 times a day, down for hours, back up. So what did you do? You had a great big motor generator. And there was a Haitian there, staying there all day long, ready to start that motor generator up in a moment's notice. And I appreciated the grid we had when I came back from Haiti. So, by the way, the second item Californians are sacrificing, higher cost. A solar battery combination, by the way, that's what's needed, because the trouble was California did this wrong. They put solar in without the batteries. They knew better, but they couldn't afford it. But the solar battery combination is 50 to 150% more expensive than a natural gas plant. So to fix this problem, they're going to have to spend a lot more money. And by the way, continue to spend a lot more money, because solar panels, and especially batteries have an 8 to 10 year life, and they've got to be replaced. And so you don't believe that, go on any of the sites selling stuff, and you'll see a lot of these solar batteries, deep cycle batteries, being sold for other purposes other than solar, because they're wore out for the solar purpose. So I really think in many cases Trump should celebrate the California, give them an award of some sort, because they're the first in our country to sacrifice their entire state in the goal of achieving carbon neutrality. And I think he ought to point them out, that they are to be commended. Meanwhile, they're moving. Just talked to somebody who was trying to move to Nevada. Can't find a house to rent. Cannot find a house. There's nothing on the market. It's just the move from California is extensive right now. Is it because of the sacrifices? Maybe some are unwilling to pay the sacrifices. I'm sorry that they cannot make it. Number 7, are the Democrats moderate? So I was thinking about this a little bit earlier. You know, is this the party of John F. Kennedy? The moderate party, moderate conservative, in fact, some might say. So to test this, you'd say, okay, name me one prominent conservative moderate in the party leadership, just one. And I'll leave that to you to see if you can do that. And then I wanted to cover the con. So this is interesting. And by the way, the COVID pandemics has uncovered a lot of regulation that has stifled this country. And a lot of it's been turned over. Trump has stopped a lot of this, like the ability not to do telemed calls with your doctor on an iPad, right? We fixed that in the middle of, we should have fixed that years ago. And it works fine, by the way. I personally had done it about 3 times already. So a lot of regulations are there for other reasons. 35 states require hospitals or hospices to obtain a certificate of need. Okay, that's why we call it a con, C-O-N, certificate of need, before buying new equipment, new facilities, or expanding services. You want to go up by a hospital bed? Fill out a C-O-N, a con, a certificate of need. Okay? And by the way, the fees, I think in New Jersey, can run as high as $300,000 for this. And if you fail, if they turn you down, the fee is non-refundable. So who benefits? Large hospitals benefit, right? Anytime a smaller facility wants to expand, they go fight it. They file formal objections and say this is not necessary. So a judge recently has looked at this, that they're fighting some of these cons now. And the judge says, what would have happened if Henry Ford was told he couldn't build Model Ts because too many Buicks were already being made? And boy, and did you catch the correlation? Model T, poor person, everybody could afford a Model T. Not everybody, but you know what I mean. And Buicks were more of a luxury automobile. So what would have happened if Henry Ford was told he couldn't build Model Ts because too many Buicks were already being made? This is a law that we had on the book in 35 states. By the way, the states that didn't have this on the law, in the COVID, the research showed in the COVID pandemic fared much better with much more rooms available in the hospital. So which states could react faster during COVID? Those who had less regulations. And that went all down the line to making PPEs, to working on vaccines, and so on. So we see a lot of a lot of opportunities there to make our country better, and I'm glad we've jumped onto a lot of them. So 7 different items today. I know probably filled your plate a lot, but I hope that hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a great day, and I appreciate hearing your comments. And thanks again for watching, Lee. And as I dissect the Wall Street Journal every day for you, it's on my porch, and I love to go through it from front to rear and share the best with you. So take care. Have a great day. Cheers.